I will build better software more efficiently, and I'll have to example models. Brent runs that, so I run the service department. So basically, he was just one person and everything on it. So that's pretty much it.
Testing, 1, 2, testing. Check, 1, 2. Hey, if you are going to get a coffee drink that makes noise or any kind of drink that makes noise, get it now because we're not doing any noise-making things. When we start. Okay, everyone, we're going to get started in about 3 minutes. So if you need to find a seat, find one now if you can.
I would say so, some of them those lines. Yeah, I have to. That's amazing. Yeah. So how'd you they got like a lounge and stuff. Like what's the big blue? Like if the blue was like a little bit nicer, you know what I mean?
Just make me get out the phone to show you videos.
I would have I gotta get the video from this.
I sent it to my girlfriend.
Oh, I see.
They wanted to know.
Their website.
CrossFit, active with my boys. So
Nate, are you ready?
I mean, it's on there, but it's like weird. It's like,
Okay, everyone, how y'all doing? Come on. Hey, my name is Dave Miller, and my wife and I own Life Public House, and literally this is one of the reasons why we bought this place. So the community could gather together, make some memories and all that kind of stuff, but also be informed about things that are going on in our community. And so, hey, thanks for coming. It's going to be a great night. Tonight's brought to you by North Idaho Freedom Fighters, and Amy will tell more about that.
All right. Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you so much. So my name is Amy McCanley. I'm the founder of North Idaho Freedom Fighters. And really quickly, I just want to introduce my volunteer team. Amy's over here in the corner with Stephanie. Raise your hands. And Brooke Miller. So thank you guys. Everything that we do is just volunteer time. There's so many great organizations within our community that just work together so tirelessly. I feel so blessed that we live in a community where we're just always working together to bring awareness on different topics. And so I also want to give a quick thank you to Quincy and Casey who are recording for us tonight. Thank you guys so much. They also dedicate their time and volunteer for us, so thank you gentlemen so much for that. That way people who aren't able to be here tonight, they can still get this information because it's so, so important. I also want to give a special thank you to Amy and Brooke because the topic of human trafficking has been close on many of our hearts, and that's why you're here. And I think we just get caught up in our everyday life when we get busy, and we forget, like, what's going on, what can I do to get involved? And it is something that at North Idaho Freedom Fighters has been wanting to get involved with and just spread the word a little bit more. And Amy and Brooke have been like in my ear, like, we gotta do something, we gotta do something. And we knew that we needed to. It's just, you guys, it comes down to this time. You know, we're busy like everybody else. But things were happening in our community, and I thought, you know what? This is the time. We actually normally, as North Idaho Freedom Fighters, we actually usually meet every month for our business meetings and our community meetings, and we're actually putting that on pause because we realize that doing that is important work and we love it, but then things like this weren't happening because there's only so much time in the day, and we're all business owners and moms and busy just running life. And so our new reset kind of for North Idaho Freedom Fighters is to just bring awareness to things like this that are just so important in our community. I know right now, just going to talk about the elephant in the room, there's been a lot of division in our community regarding the sheriff's race. This event is not about the sheriff's race. This event is about our children and the safety of our children and bringing awareness to it. And it's about Nate Lewis and his organization, The Innocent, and that's what tonight is about. Now, I understand as you're voting, you're curious. You want to know where the current sheriff might stand on what's happening. You might want to know where a particular candidate stands. That's great. You can ask them privately. We are not discussing that here tonight because we're not taking the focus off of this issue. So that's kind of like the mom voice in me, being really strict. Sorry about that. So I want to thank our current sheriff who is here tonight for attending. Thank you so much, Commissioner Forrest and your team, and I know we have Dan Wilson that's here somewhere who's writing, and so thank you gentlemen for coming. And then we have our group over here from Shoshone County. We've got a county commissioner who's here and some other great candidates, so thank you guys so much for coming as well and making that drive. And we have a sheriff who's running as well for Shoshone County, so thank you so much. And Leslie's here, and Tony's here as well. Tony Deschancy. So yes, we've got a lot of great representatives that are here, and that means a lot to us because we live in a great, great county, and we're all pulling together. So just so that you know, this is going to be the first of many events that we're going to have. I'm looking forward to connecting with Nate and finding out like next steps and what are other things that we can do to help and get more involved. And here's my thing. My goal is that with God's help, if we all stand together and spread awareness, all those freaking creeps will know, oh, I don't want to mess with that area, because it's not just the police that are looking for me, it's the grandma down the street, it's the aunt next door, it's our entire community that's looking out for our children. And that is what's going to take for this to stop. So again, thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And I'm just going to let Nate introduce himself and do what he does best, because I won't even give it justice, everything he's done. So thank you again, you guys, so much for coming tonight.
Thank you everyone for coming. I'm gonna sit down and make this casual and interactive. I'll save questions for later, but I'm not here selling like some vacation rental. This isn't a presentation. I'm trying to sell you on anything. What I'm here to do tonight is I'm speaking on behalf of my organization. I don't represent any department or any law enforcement. I don't endorse any candidate. This is, like she said, this is not a political agenda. And what I would like to say is, what a win already tonight. Because as a community, we've already come together with these two gentlemen in the room this evening. And this is what I hope our nation can do. That we can set aside certain things, and as a community and as a nation, we can make children our #1 priority. And that's what we're here for. So I founded The Innocent. We're a national organization. I just so happen to live here. This is my community. This is where my kids grew up in, so it is important to me that we keep this community safe. So that's why I'm here. But we do travel a lot. My team, the Innocent team, is made of mostly active duty law enforcement officers who I contract for off-duty employment, who specialize in child sex crimes. There's one here tonight who represents a local law enforcement agency here in Kootenai County, who is proactively doing investigations, which we'll get into a lot of this stuff. I want to make it very clear, I understand that there's a lot of different levels of people's understanding and education on human trafficking, sexual exploitation, and as Amy mentioned, like, hey, we don't have enough time in the day to talk about this. What I want you to know is I don't consider myself an expert by any means, but this is all I talk about every day for the last almost half a decade. I don't spend time fighting narcotics. I don't spend time working in homicide. I don't spend any time dealing with domestic violence. I 100% focused on human trafficking the last several years of my life. So if you want to talk about drugs and narcotics, I'm not the guy. But what I will say is most of my experience is outside of the United States. So I work for probably the largest anti-trafficking organization in the world. We focus on child sex crimes. I've seen some of the most horrific things known to man. My first, call it a deployment, we were hunting witch doctors who were decapitating children, removing limbs and leaving them for dead, and most of them actually did die. We worked in forced begging, where they removed children's limbs and forced them to beg in tourist areas and then take their money in the evening. We've taken down child sex hotels, homosexual men who go to these hotels and only have sex with boys under the age of 12. These are real things that I have been a part of outside the United States until recently, when I decided to turn the efforts outside the United States and focus 100% inside the United States and inside our borders. A lot of this stuff that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to share some stories, can be traumatizing and triggering, even to myself. I'm going to try to keep my emotions out of it and stay professional. And I think that it's important for all of us to be educated from the facts and the truth, and not so much attached to the emotions. Now it's hard because righteous anger is a real thing. And I have, the first experience was when we were going after those witch doctors, and I went to a place that I'd never been before in my life. And I'd spent 16 plus years prior to that living outside the United States. It's a tough topic, and thank you all for being here to want to learn more. And I think that's my goal for tonight. I think, like Amy said, this is the first of many, so I kind of want to build a foundation of where and what trafficking looks like here inside the United States. I'm not going to be able to cover everything because it would take me more than 2 weeks of 8-hour days to scratch the surface to teach you like 0.5% of what's going on and the grasp of all these things when it comes to parents and education and apps to protect your children and how to really build that relationship with your children as a parent and what are the alarming things that are out there. And before I get into all that, I do want to say a little bit about our organization, and I think that it's important for you guys to understand that I'm not here to sling mud at anyone running for any office. I'm actually here to serve you guys, the community, and your children by serving law enforcement. That's why we exist. So our organization is really an avenue for the people who've had enough to fund law enforcement to get the specialized training that they need to be proactively investigating these crimes and get them the technology and the tools and teach them the tactics that are most effective and most efficient to hunt predators in communities. So that's what we as a community could do, is support our law enforcement, get them what they need. My team was just recently, they spent the last week in Salt Lake at an ICAC chat training seminar conference. It was insanely valuable. These are the type of trainings that we need to be sending law enforcement to that aren't in their budget. There's gaps inside law enforcement budget. If you don't know, now you know. There is a massive gap in budgets, and that's where we come in to fill those gaps through grants. So that's a little bit about our organization. There's a whole lot more, the innocent.org. This isn't about me or the organization. This is about the innocent children that are out there. And I'm going to probably offend some people tonight, and that's okay, because I'm not here for any other purpose than to share truth. My truth, what I've experienced dealing with this every day for several years, and what's going on. And I want you to hold your questions to the end, because I hopefully will answer some of them and what we're going to go through. But I think that it's important to, one, I'm going to start here with a few things. There's our website that you can go check it out, theinnocent.org. But let's start by building a foundation right here. This is all available to you guys. This is the Idaho legislature. These are some of the statutes when it comes to human trafficking. I'm not going to break this all down for you. There's lots of different sections in here and chapters. These are the laws that law enforcement enforce. But I do want to point out a couple of things in here that are pretty important. This is Title 18, Chapter 86. Again, you can look all this stuff up. The definition of human trafficking, right? And I'm not going to go through all these statistics and all these things. You guys can spend an hour of your time doing your own research to find out the laws of what it looks like. A child obviously means under the age of 18. Commercial sexual activity means the exchange or the attempted exchange of sexual contact for a fee. You can go into fee, you can go into force, you can go into forced labor, and all that stuff. There's a very important word in here. Attempt. What we focus on is prevention. We don't want the child to be raped before we react to a call. We want somebody to believe they're showing up to meet a child and attempt to rape them and then end up behind bars. That's attempted rape of a child. Again, I'm not going to go through all these, but there's a lot of information here that I highly suggest. This whole thing can break down a lot of stuff here. I got another couple highlights here where you start looking at. This is what I really want to get into tonight. I'm going to get into this, and I'll come back to that slide. And here's a lot of things that fall under human sex trafficking of a child. You can read this definition. I highly suggest you go spend some time looking at all these things right here. Look at all these crimes that you could be arrested for, okay? Again, we don't have a lot of time, and I know y'all want to get to some questions, so I'm going to skip through this. But please, it's important. Find out what falls under trafficking. Because there's a lot of things here that you probably didn't think falls under trafficking, like sexual exploitation of a child by electronic means. I'm going to focus a little bit on that tonight. Because I think that a lot of people think, which is the reality, and I can't talk too much about Kootenai County. I haven't done a lot here. I've been trying for a couple of years, and hopefully we're on the cusp of really getting in here locally to be able to do some work here. But inside the United States, I have quite a bit more experience than just locally. And there's a lot of crazy stuff happening, especially in the bigger cities. It's higher populated, there's more homes. I'm going to show you some crazy stuff here about what's going on. But I also want to be realistic about this is the first meeting, okay? So I'm trying to I don't know where everybody stands, where they're at on this education, and I kind of want to slowly bring you guys into it as well, and just kind of be realistic before we deep dive. It's the same thing we do with law enforcement. So when we contact law enforcement, the first thing we do is we put them through some sort of vetting process. What technology do you have? What training do you have? What experience do you have? And then we customize the training to them, according to their experience and all those other things. Because if they're already working, going after the buyer, now we can get into organized crime, and we can really start targeting those that are selling for sex. So I'm going to go back to another slide real quick, because I do want to talk about some of this stuff, and my eyes are terrible, so that's why I wanted to put it up here on the screen. But if you look at most of this is sexual exploitation that we're going to talk about, because I think that people want to talk about the box on the shipping container that the kids are living in. And that's fine, and we can talk about that, but the thing that I think is super important, and I know I'm going to piss you guys off, but I get approached all the time by parents and by people that say, man, I don't even like leaving my kid at the public pool because I'm afraid someone's going to smack them and take them and they're going to end up in some sex ring. Could that happen? Possibly. And does it happen in large cities? Absolutely. Statistically, let me rock you guys with some statistics real quick. These are facts. You can find these online. I have all the sources if you want to come up to me afterwards. The average child walks into social media at the age of 12. Average. Age of 12, not even a teenager. 93% of teens have at least one social media account. 93%. And they spend on average 9 hours a day online. That's 37 million children on social media inside the United States. Why is this important? Social media is the digital playground of our generation. And if you don't think your kids are at risk of being on the phone and on social media, we have a lot to talk about. A lot. Because social media apps, which we have evidence, which we could all probably file a class action lawsuit against these social media apps, are introducing 12-year-old girls to 50-year-old men, one after another, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a week. Complete strangers. Now, what in the world would a 50-year-old man need to be introduced to a 12-year-old? Why? Why are these social media apps doing this? It's happening. We have it all in evidence. It's real. It's absolutely real. And here's the thing, when we're talking about protecting and preserving the innocence of children, that's what we're doing. We, and one of my team members is here tonight. When I say we, I talk about our team. Because they're the law enforcement officers. I'm just here to support them and get money for them. So they can go out and train law enforcement and protect the innocent children of America. When I say we, I do sit in on these investigations, and I'm going to show you some operations that we were part of successfully in Washington State, where we wrecked these small towns. The first conversation that goes into it, slides into a DM on a 12-year-old girl, is a photo of a male's private parts saying, rate my fill in the blank. What in the world is a man sending an 11-year-old girl a picture of his junk and asking her to rate it for the first message? That's not slow grooming. That's telling an 11-year-old, I just stole some of your innocence that you're never going to probably get back. The conversations that we see that are happening to what people believe to be young girls is still shocking to me, and I've seen a lot. That's what I think is so important, is that it's happening to your children, And if you don't think it is, it's time you get really educated, and it's time you start building a real relationship with your children so that you can have honest conversations, because they know more about this technology and social media than you do. And if you don't catch up to them, and if you don't change with the times, because these apps and these places are always changing. And I call that the light web. Now, let's venture into the dark web. This is really scary. Because even though your kids are at risk, high risk, on social media, there are known places that we work in, again, we, the team, work in, that are 100% pay-for-sex sites that are illegal, not vetted. Some Middle Eastern countries built these programs that you can be, so you can't, they don't work with law enforcement. It's corrupt and it's disgusting, and we have techniques of trying to identify these people, but it's happening, and we do see it. And I'm going to give you some more statistics. And these are statistics that we can back with evidence. We posted an undercover ad posing as a 14-year-old girl right here. How many people contacted us within 24 hours of meeting?
A few thousand.
There were 4 people communicating with us within 10 minutes, 61 within 24 hours, and within a week there was more than 250. Unique numbers. Now some numbers were blowing you up like 25 times. Those are predators that are living in amongst our community, that are searching and looking to pay for sex with minors.
In Coeur d'Alene.
Well, it's in this area. Yeah, it's in this area. It's in this area. There are active investigations going on currently to hunt this. And this is what I want to say to all you guys. This is real, and I'm going to say this very humbly. And I know we have both candidates in the room, and we have the sheriff's department here that work child crimes. So give it up to them, because they're on the front lines of hell. Seriously. The beautiful thing about this is that the sheriff has a lot of authority and can do a lot of things. But no matter who gets in office, we have a team that's going to hunt these guys here locally, no matter who's in office. So that's why this is not a political thing. Because you do have people here that are currently doing this. They're going to continue to get trained, and they're going to continue to train others, and they're going to continue to get equipped. And you're going to continue to fund them. That's just how it's going to be. I'm a little off subject here, but I think it's important that we continue to move on here. This is another public site. Who's in custody currently in your jail? Now, I didn't go through all the definitions of human trafficking, but you can go back and find those, and you can see what falls under human trafficking. Okay? Like, just go do it. We don't have enough time tonight. So if you click on current inmates, you click on that, it pulls this page up right here. Okay? This is public access. I'm not doing anything funny. Then you just search child. So I'm just going to search child. There's going to be a lot of things that pop up here in child. Actually, there's 153. That's not all child sex, so hold on. We're getting there. Let's just scroll through some of these. Injury to a child, let's go down. Sex abuse of a child. Oh, what's the date on that one? 2024, February. Okay? Let's keep going here. I know this is going to take a little bit of time, but I think it's important to know that these people are currently in your jail. There's one in here that I can't wait to find and show you guys, but you should do this on your own. I had this already pre-thing, but it went sex offender there. But there's going to be lewd sex. There's one: sexual exploitation of a child, sex abuse of a child, sexual exploitation, lewd conduct with a minor on a $100,000 bail. I'm going to scroll down here because I know there's a few more in here. There's a guy on a $500,000 bail in here. Anyways, this is something that you guys can go check out if you have time. Type that in. I'm just showing you who's currently in your jail right now. Underneath these statutes of human trafficking, there's another thing I wanted to show you guys. This is not the one. I don't know why that is. I lost it. There is recently, so I guess when we talk about human trafficking, there was recently, I don't know if you guys heard about the doctor that had wear cams in his office that was arrested. He's got like 16 counts. Yeah. Voyeurism is a form of child sex trafficking. When you're filming a child who can't consent, anyways, and using those, again, go back to the definition, I should have went through it, but you can actually see that there are individuals in our community who have been caught. I don't know how they got caught. That's not my job. And it's not my job to tell people how to do a job. To be honest with you, that's not what I'm here to do. But what I can encourage is to be proactive. One of the things that we really, really encourage is to get out there and proactively get engaged instead of reactively getting engaged. Now that's complicated, and I'm not going to get into all that too, because again, a lot of it goes back to budget and other things that I'm not going to get into tonight. But again, this is like chapter 1 of what we can get into here over the next several months, years, whatever you want to do. I do want to bring up a couple of other things because I know we're trying to keep this to a somewhat reasonable amount of time to keep your attention, and I know there's going to be lots of questions as well. This is kidnapping, charged with kidnapping assault. This obviously is not right here, but what's important to know, gosh, there's so much to tell you guys, and I can't even get into all of it. So just know what you're going to hear tonight is a grain of sand on a beach. Predators, offenders who are coming after children are known to, on average, now look, averages, who knows really the real data, to travel up to 4 hours to commit the crime. Why do you think that is? Well, because I could say, bye honey, I'm going to work, and leave the house and call in sick, drive 4 hours, rape a child, and be back home for dinner. So when we're doing investigations here locally, we, the team, is doing investigations here locally, you're pulling people from all over. You know, that would potentially be coming to your community to, you know, attempt to rape a child, or whatever they're agreeing to in the chat, okay? Does it happen? It happens. Do I have articles from Kootenai County? I don't, but the sheriff's here, he brought a lot of stats that maybe he'll share later. But this one I will tell you we were part of. This is a department that we actually supplied training, we supplied equipment to. Several of these officers and a federal task force officer with the federal agencies on my team that worked these cases happened to be there for them. This is a 41-year-old male who showed up to have sex with an 11-year-old, and he had an 11-year-old living in his home, and a 9-year-old. He was arrested. That's why I love doing these type of operations, because to protect and preserve the innocence, I'm not going to get into the details, but that case takes a turn when you find out there's children living in the house, right? It's not like, oh, arrest the guy, cool. It takes a turn. Now you have to talk to the children, talk to the mom. You have to identify what's been going on at home, potentially there's victims, or hopefully, praise God, you intervened before that child lost their innocence. Another case, I don't know if this one's has a press release, but you can probably find it on their sheriff's office website. But it took us under 7 minutes on one of these dark websites to be contacted. I think this was a 12-year-old, to be contacted by an individual who created the elements of crime and then showed up at the school and was arrested. But less than 7 minutes actually, it was almost 7 minutes to commit those crimes. Enough to probable cause, get arrested, and now we have ours. This one right here, I'm going to show you, is important to know. Again, you can look up all these. These are other ones that we were part of. Praise God, we were able to be invited in and support a couple of my team members. Our team members, we They won the second in command. They worked with 18 agencies, including the FBI, Homeland Security, State Patrol, a lot of different departments. This is not the training that we provide, by the way. It's a small scale. This is an 80-man investigation team. Over the course of 54 hours, there ended up being 13 arrested, and they were showing up to meet a 7, 9, and 12-year-old sisters that the mom was selling. All of them. You can look this up right here. This is no joke. Here's all their names. Here's their ages. Here's where they're from. And this is in a town that was doing no investigations a year ago. 0 investigations. And here's the thing. Shocking, this is my hometown, so that's why I started there. When my team said, we're going to post this online undercover ad with a 14-year-old, we go way lower now because it's just insane. And there's other reasons for that. I would talk to law enforcement about, but not to the general public. But they were like, how many people do you think are going to hit this up? And I was like, man, if we could get 12, that would be amazing. Are you kidding me? We had 54 unique individuals in this town, right here. And the first arrest that we made on Valentine's Day, Operation Cupid, was before he could be fully booked. Man, they wanted to do a press release because they were freaking excited that they're going to start cleaning up their community. And we told them no, because that's what we don't want. We want to create risk. That's what we want. That's what we're trying to do with law enforcement. Right now, in that town, this is what was crazy. 7 drug task force officers between 2 counties, 2 city departments, and the State Patrol. 0 child crimes officers, period. It's a small town. It's not like that everywhere, but I'm just saying, where's the priorities? We got to change the priorities, because they took a shot in the dark and said, you know what? Sure, we're open to this. Let's do some active investigations. They went to some training. A lot of these guys came over from Seattle. They had a lot of this experience. They're on the team, over a decade of experience. Back then it was called prostitution, and they were pimps. Now they're traffickers and victims. So we ran these undercover operations pretty quickly, arrested a bunch of people. It's not that hard. The cool thing about our training, and I'm not trying to sell you guys because I know you're not law enforcement, but there is law enforcement in the room. It's free to law enforcement. Small teams, significant results. How do we take small teams inside of a department and create an operation plan, follow them through all the warrant process and all the stuff? You guys don't understand how much time and work goes into these things. Walk them through the entire thing. And the cool thing about our training is you're not in some conference room with a PowerPoint presentation. We're actually live setting you up with the equipment that we provide on these accounts, and you're going in and we're doing active chatting, and you're learning how to chat, and you're learning how to do these investigations and get the elements of crime. And I'm going to skip a whole bunch of stuff, but there's a lot of really important things that have to follow this case to make the conviction rates increase. Part of our training, what's really important, is increasing convictions. When you build a really solid case, prosecutors love it. They'll take the slam dunk case every day. And they don't plea out. But you can build a strong case, and instead of getting 3 months probation, you might get 9 years for some of these crimes. Some are 30. So what we're trying to do is equip them, law enforcement, train them, get them what they need so that they can proactively go out there and make a difference in your community and make your kids safe. That's why I think it's important that we're here tonight, not talking about any politics, but come together as a community to say, how can we actually make a difference locally? You, most of us, even if we went online and did online investigations, it's not going to hold up in court and no prosecutor is going to take it. Law enforcement can do things that we can't do as people want to claim themselves to be cowboys or vigilantes or whatever they are. And I get it, and I know where your heart's at. That's why I started this. And we can join forces to come together to actually make a difference. And we can encourage, we can show up at the town halls, you can show up in your meetings, talk to the people that were voted in our communities, because those are the people who can start making policy changes And that's what we need is policy changes. I'm going to go to something real quick, and then I'm going to take questions. But before I go to this next one, this 12-person operation right here, over the last 5 years, this community of investigators have arrested over 330 predators doing these operations. Okay? Out of those 330 that were arrested, what percentage of those were registered sex offenders?
Probably 90, probably 35.
3.
Yeah.
3%. Keep that in mind. Only 3% of those over 300 were registered sex offenders. And this so happens to be the registered sex offenders right here. Here's where we are in this little blue house. FamilyWatchdog.us, go check it out. Registered sex offenders right here. And I could move this all around. You go into Spokane. Matt, when there's more roofs, there's more people. And when the roofs are stacked on top of each other, like in New York and all these big cities, it gets super dense. I challenge you to go type in Dallas, Texas, if you want to get your mind blown. Here's the thing, if that operation represented 3% of the people that have been arrested to show up to have sex with minors, 3% were registered sex offenders, that could possibly represent 3% of the predators living in our community. There's no way to really know, but right now, those people that you're looking at have been caught, number one. Maybe it was reactive or proactive, I don't really know. You can click on their cases and you can pull them all up. And you can see the pictures and everything. Severity, go check it out, spend some time here. Not only did they get caught, they got convicted. And they registered as a sex offender. It's kind of scary. You know what's crazy? Look at all these schools, too. Here's another thing that's crazy. Now look, again, I could talk for 8 days straight about the cases and the things that we've seen. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things that boil my blood. Some of them are teachers, because unfortunately we have engaged with a teacher that was communicating with a 12-year-old. Now, I will say, full disclosure, when he found out that we weren't 18, he said, I probably shouldn't be talking to you. But we went on his Facebook, and he's married and has kids, and he's around 18-year-old kids probably all day. But he thinks it's okay to communicate, even if it's with an 18-year-old. There's no business a 50-year-old man should be communicating with a minor with immoral purposes. Let's just get that out there, right? Like, there shouldn't be. So I think that it's important to understand that this is what's going on now. Look, you can click on a lot of these. I really highly recommend you do. And you can see what pops up on some of these. And it gives you, right down here, a bunch of information. You know, what were their charges? You can look at their charges. Lewd conduct with a minor child. I just picked one at random. With a child. I didn't make this. This isn't my website. This is reality. And I actually don't think we've even tapped into the reality. I don't think we actually know. We're just starting. And I hope to God that we can all agree that we need to do something. We can't react and wait for a phone call. Why? There's no excuse when you have an organization here to fund you. If you don't know where to start, let us help you. Let us get you the training that you need, specialized, so that you can go out and at least start going after the buyers. Here's the thing. We can identify behaviors and patterns online. It starts as a digital addiction. Maybe it was a magazine or probably even just an advertisement on TV this day that gets somebody aroused. And now chemicals are being released inside their body. And that turns into something more advanced. And here's what's scary. When I was a kid, it was like, hey, Dad, what's in that back room with Blockbuster? You know, like, oh, that's just for adults, son. Now, 5-year-old can type the wrong thing on the phone and have access to pornography, right? That's another scary world to get into. But here's the thing. They might have started looking at a pornography of an adult woman, but then at some point, Didn't do it. So then it got younger. Actually, he didn't actually choose probably to go younger. Maybe he did. It actually just suggested that he should look at younger images. And then that's the next step, right? And then this digital addiction that they're hiding from their family, because how many times have you heard, oh, I never would have thought it was that guy. I have 2 living in my neighborhood, and I live in a pretty decent neighborhood. Here's the thing. At some point, that digital addiction becomes a physical addiction, because the digital doesn't do it anymore. And they find out about these pay-for-sex sites, and then they start paying for it. And there's children, whether it's their choice or somebody else's, who are lying about their age on there, and they're being paid for sex. Then, what's after that? Why the hell would I pay for it? Why am I spending hundreds or thousands of dollars to pay for sex when there's people anywhere I could just rape them? That registered sex offender list, I don't know all those cases, but I imagine at least one of them was probably just somebody who got raped. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. I actually know of some of them. I actually know of a father who raped his own daughter. Do you know that incest falls under those laws that I was telling you about? Look on it. It was highlighted. I can go back to it. It's right in here. So, anyways, it's right in here. Oh, I got it right there. There's a lot. So the definition of human trafficking is wide and vast. And it's big. It's a massive problem. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not, because if there's children, if there's internet access, something's happening. But if we don't start, or somebody doesn't start doing something, no one's going to do anything. And so, I think we can open it to questions at this point. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank Nate again for coming tonight, and thank all of you in your busy schedules for coming. This crucial conversation is what should push us to not just be aware, and you're becoming more aware tonight, but to take action. And so every single dollar that you can donate to the innocent is going to help save a life. And I hope you feel the urgency that I feel. I've been kind of awake to this now, some of you for 20 years, 10 years. I guess for me, maybe 4 or 5 years of really understanding how horrific it is in our country, which they say is the #1 trafficking country in the world. It has surpassed drugs now and guns, or almost guns. It's really bad. So this is my heart, and I am just thankful to our team again. So can you guys raise your hands again? Amy, Stephanie. Thank you. And Elizabeth. Right here. She does it all. Thank you very much. So if you would like to donate tonight to NIF and to Nate's organization, his team, you can do it back on the table there. So we are going to open it up for questions now. And are you going to? How do you want to do that?
You're going to right to pass around?
Yeah, that orange one there.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's important to be clear on the statistic about the United States being the #1 consumer. The United States is one of the most highest populated countries in the entire world. We're bigger than, almost as big as the continent of Europe. So you need to keep that in mind. Also, the access to internet in the United States is pretty much 100%. So why are these statistics staggering? Because there's 93% of teenagers on social media. They spend 9 hours a day online. So I think it's important to understand that statistic a little bit. Like, we have a massive population, and everyone has access to the internet. Where you go to Brazil or China, that are beating us in population, and they have very few people that have access to the internet. So when you hear that stat, remember, those are most likely started online or communicating online. How many people actually have freaking conversations with people on the phone? Seriously. Okay, 3, 4 people. So I know because you're forced to at work, but the reality is that most conversations are taking place on some sort of electronics, and there's a lot And why it's so important in this work is because they think they can hide their identity. They think they're safe. They're not at the playground with the creepy man that people are staring at. Who's that dude? They're not that guy. They actually sometimes look like a 13-year-old named Nick. They're now approaching your daughter and telling her things and giving her the attention that her dad's not giving her. And that's how this starts to happen. They target individuals that they know are vulnerable. If a girl says, I hate boys, oh, where am I going? I'm going to tell her the things she's never heard that she's just, her heart just desired to hear. And I'm going to tell her those things. And she's going to fall in love with a stranger. And I'm going to get her to start sending me pictures of her by the swimming pool. Completely innocent, right? By the swimming pool in a bikini. Awesome, I just got a 12-year-old in a bikini and I can sell that or trade it online. I know it seems weird to you, but to these creeps, a 12-year-old in a bikini, they want it. Here's the other thing, moms. I know you love bragging about your kids, but when your daughter turns 10 and you have a pool party and all the 10-year-olds line up in their bikinis and you post it on your Facebook, it's gone. Somebody else has it. How about this? Hey boys, that really cute girl named Tiffany that's messaging you, sliding into your DMs, and you guys are starting to do some cool stuff, and now Tiffany's friends with your mom and your sister and all your friends at school, and then one day Tiffany says, by the way, I'm not a girl, I'm a male, and here's where you wire $10,000. All right, expose all these, and then even if you do wire it, they expose you anyways. That's exploitation. And if you think it's not happening, it's happening. Some of you probably already experienced it. Don't raise your hand. Please don't raise your hand. But think about this, women. And I am going after women because the majority is men preying on women. How many of you on social media have had some stranger slide into your DMs? How many? Well, I'll tell you this. We were at an event in Chicago. By the way, we're super blessed because of the people. We can fund Cook County law enforcement starting a task force, and we're super honored. Signed the MOU and go out there and provide some training for them, some equipment. Cook County is one of the largest counties in Chicago and the suburbs. And we were out there and we were doing something kind of like this, a little different. And there was a 24-year-old sitting in the audience. And I was ripping statistics and saying all kinds of things. And there were some older people in the audience that weren't really aware of what's going on. And you could literally hear like, oh my. We were showing real chats that we've had, so they saw what people were saying. Because I can pretend I'm a person too online. And at one point, the 24-year-old, after about an hour and 15 minutes, raises her hand and says, "Can I say something?" I was like, "Yeah." She says, "You know what's shocking to me? All the gasps in the audience. I've dealt with this for the last 10 years of my life," she said. This is a normal upbringing to her. Because they have some creep coming into your Snapchat account and talking to you. That's normal. What the hell? That's normal? Here's another cool thing. I'm going to blow up Snapchat right now. I'm probably still being recorded, or maybe I'm not. I can really say some things. But if you have your location device enabled on Snapchat, and you're chatting with someone that you don't know, and you're in your home, not only do they know where you're at in your home, if you walk to the kitchen, they're following you to the kitchen. Go check it out. Try it. Turn it on. And you can view it, and you can walk around your house and watch your little emoji walk through the house. Like I said, this is just chapter 1. We can get into some serious business. And I know we're here to answer some questions, but the older generation doesn't have a clue because we didn't grow up with this. How the hell do we teach our children to be safe online when we never grew up this way? And here's what drives me nuts is parents go, you know what? My kid's turning 16, they're going out on the road, I'm super scared. We're buying the safest car with all the airbags. We're going to do hours of training. We're going to take a driving course. They're going to get tested by the state. And they're going to be certified to go out and drive and be safe online, and hopefully they don't die. Why is there nothing for going on social media? You don't even have to have parents' consent. Go out into the dangers of the world. How about this? If you guys want to protect your kids, how about don't let these predators inside your house, inside your child's room, you have a closed door through their phone? Because that's who they're talking to. That's where it's happening. They're communicating with anyone and everyone. Why would you do that? Why would you say, like, hey, guess what? There's a public pool down here. I don't know anybody that hangs out there, but they're kind of creepy, and I've heard some crazy stuff that goes on at that pool, but I'm just going to drop my kids off there, and I'm going to go shopping, and I'll come back to pick them up later. What? No one would do that. The internet's a dangerous place. And we have to understand that. And if we are out there in this digital playground where these sickos are, because they know where the kids are at, they're on gaming systems, where it starts. They're all over the internet. So I'm sorry, I've tried to keep this very non-emotional and very professional. And probably in a different setting, I would have probably got a little more emotional and a little more passionate. But I'm trying to keep it professional here. Because this does fire me up, because I've seen it. I've seen it. I've watched. I've been part of an investigation where a 30-year-old something male living at his sister's house, watching her 2-year-old son when she goes to work, and he's making money doing live sex acts for people online. I personally was a child who was sexually molested. I know what it's like. It sucks. It sucks. I've also been kidnapped and taken at gunpoint. I know what that's like. It sucks. And I faced them in court. And I've been through all that battles. Let me tell you, it's a hard road. And I know it is. And if I can prevent one child from having to experience and go through hell, then I've done what I needed to do. Because it's not fair. And I'm here for justice. And it's time that we actually start providing justice. Because it's not fair to these kids. They're the most vulnerable members of our society, and they need protection. And that's what I think we should be doing. That's our job, is to protect them. And let's make it a priority. So let's go to the questions before I get real fired up.
Okay. I am going to keep it just the questions. I know everybody has their story they want to share or their experience, but we want to be respectful for each other's times and Nate's time. So you can say afterwards, share those stories, mingle, but we're only going to do questions. So is there anybody in this area who has a question?
I do.
Okay.
Ready?
Oh, sorry.
I have a super quick question. That is just yes or no, 30 seconds. Is it true 8 million children each year are taken globally? Go ahead.
I don't know about globally, but can I say something on that whole point? Because there's a lot of confusion here. And I don't want to piss some people off right now. But let's just talk about the truth. Even when kids go missing, sometimes it's on their own accord, and not usually, sometimes they actually come back home. So even though that's reported as a missing child at some point, we have to be careful with that one. But what I will say is within 48 hours, if they're missing, they're highly likely to fall into some sort of trafficking. And that's coming from law enforcement based out of Arizona that we work with that did a study on this. When children go missing for at least 48 hours. I don't want to misquote the percentage, but that would fall in. It's pretty high. It's pretty high. I don't want to misquote it, but I don't know about 8 million globally. I'm trying to remove myself from the international work and focus here inside the United States.
And how about 800,000 in the U.S.?
Yeah, I believe that stat is for missing children. That's somebody go missing.
Real quick one. Every 40 seconds, somewhere a child is being taken. Every 40 seconds.
I know that about every 46 seconds, a child is being molested.
Okay.
Loses their innocence.
And last one. Is there trafficking with women and children in tunnels?
I have no experience with women and children in tunnels. Well, actually, that's a lie. I do. So we worked a case where there were dozens of young boys being trained to be suicide soldiers, but this was in Northern Africa. So again, most of my experience is international, and just in the last year, trying to focus here to law enforcement here.
We pretty much agree on two of them, at 800,000 in the U.S. in every 46 seconds. I'll go with your answer instead of mine. I will say this. You have your intelligence and I have mine. My information comes from U.S. military intelligence. So we agree at least on 2. And that's all I want to say.
Two quick questions. One, what is being done in Kootenai County to proactively go after these criminals? Like, is there already a proactive task force that exists in this county? Is it being developed? I don't know the details of that, and I'm curious. And secondly, for, let's say, there isn't something that's being done, or in a county that wants to have a task force, what's like the process for the innocent to come in and start building that task force? What are the kinds of operations that you guys are doing, the training? Like, I'd love to hear more about that as well.
I can't answer what proactively is being done here. I've just started a relationship. We're a national organization. Again, it's been most of the time international. But I am starting to build a relationship here locally to hopefully find out. But I would encourage you, you have several of them sitting in the back. You can talk to them when we wrap up here. But what I will say is, when it comes to training, I just happen to have our director of training here with us, who can probably potentially answer that question.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad. So to answer your question more specifically, we have the state AG's office, the Attorney General, has a task force that is statewide. It's a laborious kind of field to get into, and so a lot of their efforts are focused on peer-to-peer file sharing. We call it CSAM, child sexual assault material, more commonly known as child porn. There is such a prevalence of that a lot of that focus is towards combating that file sharing and identifying the people that are sharing and going and arresting them. The proactivity, I like the word you used, in development. I would say that that's probably where we're at in the developing stages. So we're developing a specific training that is going to be useful for specific to Kootenai County and whoever wants to be involved. Like Nate said, the small team, significant results is kind of our focus. The vast majority of American law enforcement is represented in very small towns. Like over 90% have agencies smaller than 50 officers. And so if we can get a handful of people from each agency around here in Kootenai County and do periodic investigations to where we're being proactive in targeting predators in our community, that's probably what you're going to see within the next coming years. A specific task force specifically dedicated to proactively investigating those, unless they're super secret and I don't know about it, currently doesn't exist outside of the AG's office. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And then kind of just like a follow-up, so Nate, I know you said most of your work's been international, but how long have you been doing, I'm not saying necessarily with law enforcement, without law enforcement, but like how long have you been doing work in Kootenai County? It's not like you just this week started saying like, hey, there's a problem here, I'm going to talk about it. How long have you been trying to, I guess, bring awareness or work on it here?
Yeah, so I used to work for a different organization, and with them I was trying to get some work done here, or some support. At least put a Band-Aid on a chainsaw wound, is what I call it, which we weren't able to do. I tried that with that organization started several years ago. It wasn't until recently where I had some introductions with some people here, where we had conversations to, hopefully potentially continue those conversations and to do some work here. But he is, I'll let him speak for himself of what's going on here. He's a sergeant over a detective unit locally, and that's all I can really say what's going on here. But I'll tell you, I said it earlier, I hope to God we have a sheriff that will use the authority to make this a priority. But if he doesn't, whoever it is, we're going to do it anyways. Because we don't need a sheriff, and we can proactively. There's other departments, other people who can proactively do this work.
And my last question, and of course, whoever else has questions. So once a sheriff decides, yep, I want to move forward, I do want to work with your organization, like, is that a lengthy process? How long does that take?
No, the lengthy part of it is the waiting list. So it's not. So it's really us getting an understanding of where they're at. So our training is customized. Each state has their own laws, but each department has their own experience just in their investigative team. And it's experience in doing these investigations. They also might be lacking equipment. So there's a lot of things that we have to really understand fully to do an all-encompassing customized training for that department specifically, and a wide range of costs in there too, because just depending upon if they've never done it, it's starting at ground zero. It's gonna take some time because we want to send them. I'm telling you, if you want to do these investigations, I think you can't really do it without going to get ICAC chat certified. ICAC is kind of the standard. And if you're not a certified chatter, it's just going to be longer because you can crush that in a week. And then I think there's some more continued training. So we encourage that to happen before we even come in. So we're not trying to train you how to chat. We can actually train you how to do operations. So it really, there's a lot of variables to answer that question. Right now, it's just time. Until we can get enough funds to increase our trainers, the amount of trainers, because they work full-time jobs. These guys are contractors, are volunteering their time for off-duty employment because they care about it, because they have personal experience with this while they're on duty, most all of them actually. And until we can continue to grow the amount of trainers that we have to go out and effectively be trainers, which takes a lot of time actually. You know, we can bring on somebody, and we have a vetting process too. That's another thing. But it takes time to really, I think it takes at least a year to get our trainers really effective trainers. Even if they've had some experience.
Hey, can I clarify something?
Yeah.
We have done online operations. We have been.
Can you give them the mic?
Yes, sorry.
We have done the online enticing operations here in Cooney County. In fact, two of those who were involved are here tonight. We have done those, absolutely. We have. And keeping children safe is a top priority, not only with the Sheriff's Office, but for every law enforcement agency here in Cooney County.
Okay, other question right here in this area? Do I pass the mic up to you?
So, as citizens, like, how can we get involved in your organization? Like, do you have any opportunities for volunteer stuff or anything of that nature?
Yeah, it's very difficult, unfortunately. I'll give you a couple of answers. But first, let me say this: because our team is built of mostly active duty law enforcement who have extensive backgrounds in doing these child crimes, there's not a lot of volunteer opportunity. There is, though, volunteer opportunity. I would say that volunteering your time through prayer would be significant. This is a good versus evil battle. And we are, unfortunately, on the gates of evil. And evil won't stop itself. And when you're trying to do good work, you're going to get attacked. And we get attacked. Personally, as an organization. And a couple other great things I want to mention, and I'm going to tell you another way that we can get involved is the turnover rate is incredibly high. And so this type of work, I think the most horrific crimes there is children. And we're going to build out a mental wellness program where we can go in, so when we come in to do training, we also come in with a plan. So we can not just support the officers involved, but the family members as well. Because we want to keep suicide rates, alcoholism, domestic violence, all these things we want to keep at a bare minimum. And that's a holistic approach. It's down the road for us. But that's an important piece, so I just want to throw that out there. We're also going to look for school resource officers. We're building a program. The school resource officers are on the front lines with the children who are the targets. So that's another thing. But what I would say, and what I would encourage, is do events like this to educate people, raise awareness, and then also the reality is let's start raising money locally. Let's get these officers the training that they need and the equipment that they need to go out and be active in our communities. Because if I showed up on your doorstep with a bunch of cool technology and a bunch of really cool training, and I'm going to walk you through it and be there along the way, even months down the road if you got a question about how do I do this search warrant, blah, blah, blah. and we're there for you, and I'm going to tell you that that's all free for you, and it's funded by your people, I imagine you're going to have a hard time saying no to that. So if we come to them, law enforcement, with a package, with not lacking supplies of resources, I think we can make a difference.
Absolutely. I was just curious because I wondered if you have like a fundraising team or like an admin team or any. Honestly, I wasn't talking about like getting involved as far as like doing the chatting and that. Obviously, that's for specialized, trained people. But I just wondered if you had opportunities outside of that.
Yeah, so I always throw that back with a question because I don't know people's backgrounds, right? Like, there may be somebody here who's like, I'm an SEO genius, and just now people are like, what the hell is SEO? But that's something that people need when they have a company, right? I've even seen this is for real. I've helped facilitate this. A dentist. I don't know what I can do, but I want to do something. I was like, you know how many girls I've seen with jacked up smiles who are they're just struggling with their own identity and self-confidence? Like, is there any way you can help with a smile? I'll do two. There's things that if I don't know what your background is, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's social media. I'm a social media illiterate son of a gun because I don't like social media. Actually, really don't like social media, to be honest with you. I don't like those platforms at all. But does that mean that I shouldn't do social media? I probably should have somebody do it, right? So it just depends on what's your background, what's your expertise, what can you bring to the table? Because it's just like any company, fundraisers, absolutely. Yeah, so you can either email us hello@theinnocent.org, or if you want info, you can info@theinnocent.org. Reach out to us. On our website, I'm going to pull that up real quick. There's a couple of ways, and we're going to get more ways for you to be able to get involved, but just go on here and check it out. You can see the law enforcement piece. Hey, look at this guy. I think I know that guy. There's fundraising, there's a store, go buy some swag, and people will be like, hey, that's a cool logo. That's a little logo right there. The Team Yacht. Help support that way. Then there's fundraising. So this is where I think support your community page. Just fill this out right here. This information will come to us, and then we can build a custom page with a QR code, and you can share on Facebook and all those things, and we can start raising money specifically hopefully for your department and your community. So that would be what I would say is like, I'm here, realistically, I'm here to protect the innocent children of America. That's what it is. And so, if it's not Kootenai County, there's a lot of other departments that are waiting for this. So we can do something here in America.
Dave, first off, let me say, I have a friend who works for you, I know the man in the charity was passionate about this. I have a statement and a question for you. Based on your numbers, the number of prisons in this country, the whole pedophiles in this country. So in your opinion, are we missing the boat? I understand we're trying to be proactive here, we're talking trial, but the crime doesn't seem to fit the question of our country. All those dots you showed us now, I think half of those are going to look for the money and deter a lot of people from committing these crimes against these children. So, in your opinion, do you think we need to have tougher crimes on people who innocent children as a deterrent? Because right now it doesn't look like we have any deterrent.
Well, you're talking about deterrent, and I think that it's important to understand that if we're proactively engaged in communities and hunting them, it's a deterrent. I've seen it. We dismantled islands, and you couldn't find a trafficker for 6 months on those islands. Deterrent. Now, that's a complex question, okay? Because he's right. You could go out and arrest 30,000 people. Where do you put them? What I'm not here to do is, well, actually, I can't say that because I am talking to a senator about laws and some things, but we as a community can demand things to be changed in laws. Bob, what I would say is that's why this training, the conviction rate is really important, right? The conviction rate, because if you build a solid case and the prosecutor wants to take that case and slam dunk it, they'll probably get a longer sentencing, but I don't write the laws and sentences. heard something over here that's significant, and I can't get into it because lots of reasons. Trying to figure out how I can word this. I can't actually look into it.
It was Judge Christensen, and Judge Mitchell is just as bad. And they're not on the ballot, I'm sorry to tell you.
But are there laws that we can change, and then would that help those judges, or is it just?
Yes, let's put back corporal punishment. Let's lash these bastards with the whip in public.
As far as what?
Sorry, can I make another question? Can you let her go, and then I'll grab the microphone over there? Yeah, I didn't know where it was.
Do you have any statistics or information regarding concerns that we need to be aware of here in Coogan County or even any of the 5 counties in North Idaho? This isn't new information, but what specifically?
So the only information that I have is what we've done, or not we, the team has done. Like I said, we did a quick online ad. Over 200 unique identities within less than a week. No, unfortunately, there's a state line right there. It's very highly dense populated, but like I said, they're willing to drive for 25 minutes. So it's, as far as statistics, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Can I go with that?
Yeah.
So what we've done is, these statistics do not include sex crimes against children. Because generally, the ones that don't have a nexus to a relative or a known suspect are included in here. But if they have a known nexus to a relative or a known suspect, they're not included. Okay? So, in 2022, Coogan County Sheriff's Office, we had 15 definitions that would qualify for human trafficking. 11 of those involved a relative with no nexus to sexual assault or human trafficking. One was a female adult who met a male on Facebook. They drove around Coogan County. She did not allege any sexual activity, but it was kidnapping. She then entered a 54-day rehab, and she's not desirous and recanted the story. We had a male who hired 2 prostitutes, and he overdosed on some drugs. Both females were arrested, and the male was hospitalized. We had 2 females that were partying in Spokane with a bunch of males. They then transported their party to Cataldo, and sexual acts occurred, and those people then went to Shoshone, and the prosecution was transferred over to Shoshone. That started in Spokane with a party atmosphere. We had 1 female adult. All of our missing and all of our runaways are all attended in 2022, except for one. We have 1 female. Sorry, scratch that. This is a little bit. We did have a female adult who went missing. She called and she talked to one of her parents, and they picked her up in a different state, and she stated that she was sexually trafficked in 2 different states south of here. The parents stopped in Utah to get a sexual assault kit. And the missing adult is now living in Las Vegas, and there's no prosecution. In 2023, we had 27 cases that would qualify for human trafficking. 22 of those cases were found to have no nexus to a sexual assault. One was a known female drug user who agreed to have sex with the driver of the vehicle for a ride. She then changed her mind. However, women are allowed. That is okay. That is still considered a sexual assault. So we took a report on that, and then the victim was no longer wanted. We had a male and a female that left the party. Female alleged sexual assault. We found the evidence that contradicted the story based on video surveillance. We had a Uber Eats type of driver that was delivering. An individual stopped and blocked her passage, which is technically false imprisonment, kidnapping. Told her to park the car over there, and she went around the block. We had a male and a female, both were arrested for solicitation of prostitution at a local gas station. We do have a female adult from 2023 that is still outstanding. She is, according to her parents, living in the car, most likely in Portland. In 2024, so far we have 19 cases. 16 are found to have no nexus to a sexual assault or human trafficking event. We have one female adult who reported a neighbor sexually assaulted her and recanted the story. We have a boyfriend and girlfriend that were cohabitating, and she said that he raped her after she said she didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. We presented that case to the prosecutor's office, and they declined to speak to us. We had a case of a male who solicited a prostitute online, paid for it online. The prostitute didn't show up. The male called the sheriff's office to say, hey, here's what I did. Here's what I did. And she didn't show up. That's a true story. Now, I reached out to other police departments. The city of Coeur d'Alene has similar numbers. They did not scrub their files like we did. However, when I told them the synopsis of our cases, they said it's pretty consistent. I contacted Rathdrum. They said they had nothing in the last 24 months that would fit this criteria. Now, I am going to tell you about an event that's probably going to disturb everyone. We do have an individual that's underage that has ran away a couple of times. And this individual says, this is the lifestyle I want to live. Now, there's a lot more going on in that situation than what meets the eye. Because if we have a child who wants to do this type of lifestyle, live this type of lifestyle, and runs away, there's something else going on in that family unit. Or, quite honestly, the biggest threat to our teenagers is this phone right here. This is the biggest threat to our teenagers, boy or girls, but especially girls. Sextortion is real. It's happening right here in Newton County. We have girls that think they're communicating with a 17-year-old boy from a neighboring high school when it's a 40-year-old man that's living in Spokane or Arizona. And they are getting pictures, and many times they start out innocently enough. Well, not innocently, it's still weird. they think they're communicating with a 17-year-old boy, say, hey, do me a favor, show me a picture of your feet. I'll give you $50. And then it goes to $100, and then it goes to $200, and then they want to see something more. And now that child is being extorted by this individual for money. And it's horrific, and they say, if you don't do this, I'm going to expose you. I'm going to put this on all social media platforms. Sometimes they even wait until the individual turns 18. So, we do have those. We have that event, and it's horrific to even think about it. Horrific to even think about it. We do have a active investigation that is occurring that would fall under this. It's been going on for a few years. It would fall under this definition. It's an active investigation. I can't tell you much more about it, but I will say it doesn't have anything to do with children, and there will likely not be any prosecution on any sexual acts. But we are looking for prosecution in other crimes. Sure. You know what? I'm sorry. It's not my.
Actually, can I ask a couple questions? Sure. So the case that you just described about the boy from the neighboring school, or his 50 feet.
It happened probably 100 times since we've been started this meeting.
Right here in Kootenai County.
Right here in Kootenai County.
So what is Kootenai County doing to proactively engage with those guys?
Well, we are doing a lot of education. In fact, right before we came here, we were at an event. We had 3 experts back there in this field, and we were holding an event at a high school, educating parents. Hey, this is the biggest threat to your children right here. And these are precursors to what happens with human trafficking. If your child gets exploited on this, they are more likely to be a victim of sexual assault or human trafficking in the future. This is where it starts. This is where it starts right here. So we're doing a lot of active investigations. We have done some enticing stings. So enticing is what we in Idaho. Enticing is when you have that immoral sexual communication with somebody underage. So we have done those, and we will continue to do those.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
I know. I know. I'm not. I think that I'm asking on behalf of everybody here. Too. All those that I just read off the yellow notepad. How many of those are too many?
All of them. All of them are too many. And I didn't include the sex crimes against children. It's horrific. It's horrific. Many times they're known to the suspect. There's some sort of a real relationship there.
That's it. Your interrogation is over.
Oh, why, I mean, can I ask? Sure.
Just take the microphone.
It's up to him. I don't think we don't want to get this doesn't need to be a political thing. I really don't want this to be political.
This is for the children in this community. They are significantly at risk with this cell phone. I mean, this cell phone is the nexus to a lot of bad things.
Not that particular cell
So many of us are like, we all want to help, we all want to either donate and do something, right? And I know everyone donates in their own way, their own budget, but I know you had mentioned like there is a specific training package for law enforcement. Is there a number that we can aim for as a community? Like if you have 100 donors donating $50 a month, 1,000 donating, like what is? Because I know recurring donations are really important. I know donations are but one-time donations are amazing, but it's really smaller, monthly or going forward. So I want like a threshold to shoot for as a community.
This is an awesome question. So the number, it's different here. It'd be a lot less expensive because my team doesn't have to travel, put up hotels for weeks. You know, like there's none of those costs for the most part. So, which is actually a significant cost. Airline flights are very expensive. Hotels are expensive. My team can fly to Dallas for a week. And so, the number to fly to Dallas or Chicago to do a week-long training to give them several different pieces of electronics and software, hardware, and then some advanced software to make them effective and efficient. And then all the training is about $15,000. Here would be much less than that. So, we need about 1,500 people to donate $10 a month. And in America, 1,500 people in America to do one department every month. Here it would be less than that. It would be a little bit less than that. So I can come up with numbers.
So what we can do too, Nate, because I know a lot of people are asking like, what can I do to help and how much money. So if you do put your name on the sign-in sheet right there, you're also signing up to just be involved in our kind of free guides, or we just let you know when we're doing events like this. But then what we'll also do is we'll give that list of names to Nate, and then Nate all kind of work with you to where we can just send out like a blanket email saying these are ways to help, and then we can work on like a specific number. If each of you give $10 each month, this is the way to help fund. So we can definitely work together and do that. So just please make sure that you put your name and email address up here where Amy and Stephanie are sitting. And then I know we got a couple questions here, and I have a quick follow-up. So it sounds like our sheriff's department are being super proactive, and we've caught a lot of these bad people. Our numbers are pretty low, which is good. But if I'm understanding you correctly, are you saying it's more about being proactive? And are you saying that numbers tend to be higher because unfortunately we haven't caught them yet because there's not real ways of catching them? Is that kind of...
Well, there's ways of catching them. It's just reacting to the call, hey, I've been raped. Or the guy that's saying, I'll give you $50 to send me a picture of the feet. Well, they're asking a cop to send those pictures of the feet. I'm using a terrible analogy, but essentially going out and being proactive in your approach to being online and having a presence. I doubt that there's a full-time or somebody who's just doing online investigations enticing children. Do you have somebody who's full-time enticing children online? One guy, there's one who's proactively enticing predators.
So I guess my question is yes, even one is too many, but are you concerned that there's a lot of talk that it's going on here, but we don't want it to happen to even one child, but it's really not that big of a deal. It's not really going on here. Obviously it's not going on here like Seattle, but is there enough of a concern where it's
So when there's two angles here, right? There's the buyer, and then there's organized crime, where you're pretending to be a male purchasing sex where there's a victim. So there's a different approach. And so, depending on the department, we come in, we need them around, so at least give them some reps on doing these investigations, proactively going after the buyers. These pretty easy cases. It's much more different when you go and start doing I'm a male who buys sex with minors, and he actually shows up with a minor. We haven't made those scenarios yet here in Boone County because we want to work with law enforcement, which we are. I mean, that's the law enforcement officer who's doing these investigations. But we want to be cautious too about not letting the cat out of the bag and then hitting it hard. And so once we get to a point where we can start pretending to be the buyer and not the seller, or the child, or the parent selling the child, that kind of thing, then maybe we'll get there and we'll have more statistics on that. So we could probably run something fairly quick to just get an idea.
Nate, I have a question.
Then I'll come right there.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Evelyn next.
there and then over there?
Yeah. So let's go back to when you showed us who was in our jail that have been convicted of sexually exploiting a minor. And I just want to ask, is sexually exploiting a minor human trafficking?
Well, yeah, it falls into that definition.
Okay, so we have people currently in our jail that have trafficked children. Yes.
Remember that definition, yeah.
So there are your statistics. Just look at who's been caught if you want to know your statistics. They're in your jail as traffickers.
I have a question about your program just in general. So you mentioned earlier about the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force program in Boise. And you mentioned that before you guys do training, like with us up here with law enforcement, that you would want them to go through the ICAD chat training and things like that. So am I understanding that your program is like an augmentation where you come in with extra training and equipment to help law enforcement after they've already kind of gotten the foundation going? Or are you bringing in law enforcement officers into the area to help do operations, or is it, can you clarify that?
Well, it's not required that they go through ICAD check training. It's not required. But I'm going to hit that mic to this area.
So the focus of our program is specifically towards operations. So our goal is to go out and find experienced investigators. And when we talk about the training that they might receive before we come, it will just help the efficiency once we arrive. You don't have to have the certification, but if you understand the parameters that are going to be brought up later from the prosecutor's office and what judges and juries are going to consider, we want to affect prosecution and conviction rates. And there's some things that are just kind of like details off to the side that from a law enforcement standpoint are very, very important. Another example, I guess, of that training is we can give you equipment, but that equipment is trying to exploit devices. The equipment, as we all know, privacy is a very big concern on our cell phones now. So if I get a device from a bad guy and he doesn't want to let me fingerprint or whatever, we have devices that try and break into those. And so we have to have law enforcement trained in how to use that equipment that effectively break and exploit those devices. So those are just kind of like, that's not really what we do. Once you get the training to effectively learn how to do some baseline investigations, the details that just, it's not going to be effective and efficient for us to do that when we're there for a week. Once you have those small details, we're going to put it all together and we're going to show them how they can contact the people out in the museum who are trying to exploit the children, and then once they show up to meet the children, we're conducting an operation to actually put those people into custody. To answer your question? Yeah. So we're operations focused. There's a lot of investigations that will end up, you give the paperwork to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor says, yes, we'll go arrest this guy. Now I got to identify him and go find him. We are focused on saying, listen, if you know how to do these things that make an effective investigation, and you know how to use the hardware that we're going to bring, then we're going to put all those things together and we're going to show you how to package that investigation and how to effectively arrest the bad guy using the investigative strategy for the operation. That's going to be our focus.
You're just bringing specific strategy or program or whatnot to do something.
To put people in jail. Yeah, yeah. And then specifically for that community, the goal is to bring those bad guys to us before they get to children. Before there's a victim.
Yeah.
We're standing in between the bad guys and the kids.
Partner will abuse on average 117 victims in their lifetime, so we're trying to get there before they get to the third one. The other thing, and I'm going to give you one second. So 15,000 is the baseline. Normally, they could go up to $250,000. We could build a forensic lab for law enforcement. Tools that they can wait months sometimes to find out the network that's on that phone. Where with some of these tools, they can get into that network within hours, which is important, right, to identify who they're communicating with, who they've already abused, all that stuff. So it's very important to be able to get into that phone sooner than later, and not wait for like Homeland Security or FBI to get into that phone. And basically just have a mobile app. So there's a lot. It's not just $15,000. That's like tier 1. We can get way up into the $250,000 range.
Thank you. I just wanted to share a resource with the community. My name is Lonnie Weidman, I'm the Juvenile Probation.
at Sandpoint High School, Coast Falls High School, Timberlake High School, Lakeland High School, we've been up to Shoshone. And those are free. I want to empower parents, grandparents, and community members because you guys are grassroots. We are protecting our children, and it comes first. That is the parents' responsibility first. And so as much as we can educate parents, we have to start there. Sometimes it might be difficult and it takes way longer to try to change the legislature, but if we can control what we control in our own homes, that is where it starts first. And so I'm going to leave some of my cards here for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I would also really encourage you guys to talk to your local school districts about hosting one of those community nights. And like I said, there's APAC, there's officers there, sometimes meals there, Secret Service, and so we do have collaborations that are partnering to make sure that we are getting the proactive end of this, which is just as important, if not more important.
Is that it?
Okay.
There's a QR code, you can scan that. So if you want to donate money and we want to empower law enforcement here and get them what they need to go out and make our community safer.
Looks like we have one last question over here.
I just want to say two things that will help your operation. Number one, I'd like to see all the local law enforcement do what Sheriff Judd does over there in Florida. He puts all their faces, all the predators' faces every day for everyone to see, and that would be a little bit of a thing. Second of all, the reason why we don't see large-scale investigations, and I'm going to be real generic here, in Idaho and in the United States, is because they're afraid where the investigations will lead. I can assure you from the highest levels, and I sincerely mean the highest levels, we have predators at the highest level in politics, from presidencies down, judges, some in child protective services, some in some family courts, big businessmen, political leaders, big business people. I mean, the list goes on. That's why there's not large-scale investigations, because who will it come to and find?
That's not accurate.
Okay.
That is accurate.
It's okay.
We're
We're
talking
not,
about
okay,
it's
we're
not
not,
accurate.
it's okay. We're gonna agree to disagree. He said his piece. We're just gonna move on, okay? So, that way we can talk about all that afterwards. So, there's a lot. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. Thank you so much for your time. And, again, thank you everyone for coming.